Please join me in welcoming Mike Marks.
Thanks, Jerry.
Go get him, Mike.
And I have a clicker. All is good in the universe. This is really a first new step. I'm not quite sure where it's all going to end up. I should make it very simple for those of you that don't know me. When I was young, I thought it was all about the money. Now that I'm 63, I was right. It's all about the money. So we've had a great run in the industry. You know, if we go through all the construction that's happened, we've had several years that have been, shall we say, crummy. And it's kind of like, so what do you do for an encore? So what I'm going to do is walk you through, see, did I do this right? I did this right. Got an agenda, going to talk a little bit about this project. Going to take a different look at your customer base that this is really focused for the contract hardware distributors. We're going to be looking at things that'll be sort of like a little left brain for manufacturers. They won't quite get it. And if you're a contract hardware distributor, a lot of what you're going to hear, you might actually be thinking, well, all that stuff that my manufacturer's rep was telling me, he was right. So we'll just kind of see where it all goes, but we'll show you the data and how we actually got there. But the goal is to create knowledge, but there's something you need to understand about this business. We're going to describe, without all the Michael Porter competitive intensity stuff, if you've seen one contract hardware distributor, you've seen one. The amount of variety in terms of successful business models in this industry is phenomenal. There are a lot of pathways forward, and so there isn't a right path. So the idea is, what are the tools that you have and how do you move forward? So what I'd like to do is get you all in the right frame of mind, and we're going to talk about your action plan. Should have a copy of these handouts, by the way. If you want an electronic copy of these, just ask the DHI staffer. But I'd like you to pull out a pencil and a business card or a cocktail napkin or something, and the first thing I want you to do to get your brain in the right place says new door. I would like you to rearrange those letters so it says one word, not two. New door, rearrange the letters, go. If you're really challenged, copy from somebody at your table that's smarter than you. Rearrange the letters. Everybody's just kind of looking around. How many people have it? That's right. You guys get gold stars. That's the answer. Rearrange it so it says one word. We all make assumptions. We all get a little routine. When I leave my house in Melbourne, Florida, and I start to drive across the Beachline Expressway, I can be unconscious and dead, and my car will still end up at the Orlando airport. The car knows. And we get in this routine, and you go by, you keep doing stuff, and you get to the point that you just don't even see it anymore. So what we're essentially going to do, this deck has got, I'm not going to read the deck and go through all. It's not a presentation deck, it's actually a workshop deck. And the goal here, I want you to listen carefully in terms of what you can get some takeaways now. I want you to discuss it with the team that you have here, show up at our workshop tomorrow, take a bunch of notes. When you return home, sit down with the best and brightest that you have in your company and dig through some of these details. I'm going to explain how the story goes, but go back. This is working on your business instead of in your business. This is how do we actually change? What are our pathways to go? I will give you a clue. Hope is not a strategy, right? Sitting around waiting for the bubble to come back, you're going to be waiting a long, long, long time. The point is, you are in a very strong, powerful industry. You have tremendous competitive advantage, most of which we just sort of leave in the shelf and we don't use, and that's where I really want to focus on this morning. In the workshop tomorrow, we're going to demonstrate 3 tools. And the tools are going to be talking very much about market access. And market access says, it's very simple. Think of all the money you spend on sales and marketing. Outside sales, quote management, all this, everything that you do, think about all that money that you spend. How well is that investment aligned with your opportunities for growth? If it's aligned really well, you have good market access. Most of you have investments that maybe used to be really powerful, but a lot of times we're making JIC sales calls just in case. And we're just kind of rolling along because this is the way we've always done it. And it's very, very hard. Everybody's willing to go add new resources and expand. It's very hard to let go of something. It's kind of like the assumption about one word. So this is a process that your board has paid us. We do a lot of this work for big companies and develop a set of tools, and we're going to show people how to use the tools and move forward. Let's put a little history together. Anybody here young enough, or actually I should say old enough, to remember a term called exclusive distribution? Anybody remember that word? Yeah. I mean, I've been challenged from a relationship point of view and have had some recruiting problems in terms of trying to be married. And one of the things that I learned early on with my first ex-wife was that when you put on one of these rings, notice nothing there, you need to cut back in your dating activity. It's really important. You know, David's going, I got that, Mike, I got that. The punchline is that we had either exclusive or highly selective distribution, and CHDs made markets for manufacturers. In this industry, if you go to the end user level, there are brands that are highly sticky to an end user once they pick one. And you can talk about better products and everything else, but the brands are sticky, and sticky means there's high switching costs for that end user. Now, what's happened is the channel has fragmented. People have moved to open distribution and open access. System integrators can get access to product. Various things are direct in the hospitality. I mean, it's just, everything's all kind of mushed together, where a lot of the opportunities to make markets have gone away, and a lot of CHD work now is serving markets rather than making markets. That genie won't go back in the bottle. We're a classic tertiary product. We're a very small percentage of the bill of materials. We're a big percentage of the punch list. Things go wrong. By the way, I mean, there are several other products that are in this category. There are people in the residential construction business that sell garage doors. Right? Some of you guys play in that space too. You know the product that garage door distributors sell as well? They sell fireplaces. Explain to me why that goes together. You can't get a certificate of occupancy without a garage door and a working fireplace, and both have problems. Very small percent of the bill of material, so you can protect that margin. This is a defining characteristic of this industry. I'm not saying there's not a lot of change, but it's one of the things that makes it very, very hard for outsiders to understand. The other thing that's happened, and you heard about this with the Frank Lynn work year before last, was this whole idea of in-market conversion. We used to have these nice little silos. Electronic access. You know, we were division. Everything was all good. And everybody had their little buckets, and it's all good. And now all of a sudden along comes the internet, the world changed. Young people taking over from old guys. I just had I will not say who, if you know who it is, just don't say anything. Dad finally got to take over son got to take over from Dad. You know, he was finally ready, he was 62. Old men always stay too long, just so you know. But as you start to look at all these markets and how they change, everybody kind of gets in everybody else's place. Does it mean it's the end of our industry as we know it? No. Are you going to lose some business? Probably most of the contract hardware distributors in this room have lost some business to a systems integrator. I will show you where and how. But there's a point that came out of our research, and we got very excited about it. And the punchline is this. We lived in the burbs, we all had fences in our backyards. The fences got old, they all fell down. You can now see everybody else's backyard. Yes, other people can come in and steal some of our stuff away, but we have the house on the hill. It's going to be much easier economically. Remember, I'm the money guy. It's going to be a lot easier economically for a contract hardware distributor to move into these market adjacencies and some of these other people to move into ours. What you do, the thing and I'm just going to say this really plain. I stayed married to a mean woman for 11 years. My second ex-wife, because I didn't want to be a two-time loser. You can get used to anything, okay? Why am I telling you this? Because one of the things that makes you so different than everybody else, and you don't even think it's different because you're just used to it, is your management of long-term risk, long-tail risk. With all the lawsuits and the project management and the stuff that you do, doesn't affect your sleeping. The stuff that you do on a routine basis would terrify almost anybody else. You've gotten used to doing horribly complicated things. And you're good at it. You don't even think twice about it. But it's one of those things like one word that everybody just takes for granted. What we're looking at now is that the market has changed. We're not going to have this big bubble of growth. Where's the new money going to come from? And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through some highlights today just to show you what's in the deck. If you want to talk about it this afternoon, I'll be at the DHI Pavilion at the show, at the convention center out here. We're going to do a really cool workshop tomorrow. I've got a couple partners flying in, and we're going to talk about getting into the details. And we're going to keep building on this as we go if you're interested. So here's what we expected to find. Here's what we didn't expect to find. We knew everybody wanted more tools. How do I grow? What do I actually do? Every contract hardware distributor wants more end-user business across the board. Now, some of them really do. Some of them just want that because they say, well, our contractor business sucks, man. I need to go do something else. That's like the scientific thought process. So, but everybody wants more end-user business. Well, gee. The other thing that we expected to find is that if you're a contract hardware guy, your biggest competitor is sitting in a room. It's not some system integrator that's going to grab and poach an order here and there. I mean, we're focused, right? There's, what's the old Samuel Johnson line? Nothing like getting hung in the morning to focus a man's mind, right? Have you noticed all the folks, well, how are you doing this year? How's business? Oh, we're getting by. It's okay. You know, do you understand that all these people are lying to you? Just young people are going, no, Mike, say it ain't so. The system integrator business model is very, very different. Notice the unexpected. A couple things I want to just mark out. This conversions thing is happening. It is a force. It's not melting down. What we found in the interviews is that a number of contract hardware distributors are having this year really, really good years. They won't tell you. And the question is, how do they do it, right? And it was really, really hard to get people to talk to us because this like, it's the other, you know, it's fine. I don't want anybody else to get in this business. I finally figured it out. You know, don't help these other guys. So we have some boundaries over how we do this, but there's some extremely creative business models, and people sitting in this room right now are having very strong years with very strong margins. Are they doing the same things? No. They're doing some different things. We are at the point, if you talk about industry change, it's not about doing the same things better, it's about doing different things. And there's some people doing different things that we're not going to talk to you about. We're going to give you a set of tools and show you how that works. Most folks are very confident in their success. You know, after we're all dead and gone, there'll be another group of young people here that'll be old with other young people sitting there trying to figure out how to get them out, right? The industry's solid. We're going to be around for a long time. The question is, what are we doing with it? DHI and the board decided, you know what, we need to do let's do a do-over. Let's do a reset. Let's have some fun. So as we go through this, and I'm not going to bore you, but we teach at university levels, do all kinds of stuff. We could kill you with junk and kill you with 1 million PowerPoints. But the purpose of this research was to make sure that we knew out of all these tools that we pull them out, we tail them around so that you can take them and get economic benefit right away. We're going to show you 3 tools tomorrow morning. The 3 tools tomorrow morning are about what do you do with field salespeople. What do you do with field salespeople? And I know there's a lot of people here thinking, I got a 30-year award. I know what I'd like to do with those salespeople, but they won't let me. I mean, there's all these stories. And by the way, really good salespeople, ask a manufacturer's rep. Really good salespeople are always high-maintenance employees. There's always a little drama. So we're not going to catch the fish for you, but we're going to show you some cool things and also show you some rabbit holes. So here's the fundamental difference. Most of us have sales-driven strategies. That's what brung us to the dance. That's really the foundation, the common link from almost everything else. Here's how it works. I get some good sales reps. My first sales territory, by the way, was an ROW territory. Stands for Rest of the World. Right? I was the young guy. They took all the old sales guys, took away all the crap accounts. They gave them to me. I'm young, like you. Right? No scar tissue. Mike, you got 800 accounts, the backlog's $3,000 a month. Mike, the potential's staggering. Put me in, coach, I can do it. Mike, you'll be happy to know there's new market research data. Here's the new yellow pages. Go, be a man, sell. This is back in the time of the dinosaurs before MTV. And here's the implication. How do you win? Mike, what makes us unique? We sell service with excellent people. Now, you need some beatings to learn how to be an excellent person. I will teach you this. I found out later he was a mentor. That's somebody who provokes excellence. And by selling service, we go out, we call in the customer. We take care of that customer from womb to tomb. Right? We'll do anything to show how much we love them, and we'll earn the business because people like to buy from their friends. How many of you guys drank that Kool-Aid somewhere along the line? Now, in a rising market, that works really well because you know what's really interesting about this? For all the quoting and all the craziness, complying with these specs and even understanding how to interpret the specs, there's some black art to what you do. One of the other industries we work in is explosives. I mean, we're the good guys, not terrorist types, but and by the way, their margin's great. And I was saying, well, how come the margin's so high? And the distributor sales manager says, well, because nobody wants to screw up. And you have a whole bunch of that same pixie dust. And how you bring it to market and how you solve problems is very different. And it still comes back to people. So what we're going to do, what makes me unique is I sell service. That's different than all these other guys with excellent people. Here's the catch. What happens when good enough is good enough? If everybody's selling service and everybody has good people, it becomes a race to the bottom. And I will tell you something, because we teach pricing, as many of you know at Purdue. The dumbest guy in the market will always control pricing, just so you know. And they never know they're the dumbest guy. Oh, I'm a victim. Other people did it. I need to do this and meet competition. So here's what we're going to do. I'm going to give you just a little taste, but think about how customers want to buy, not how you want to sell. And so fundamentally, if you think about strategy, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this, except that there's a natural order for how you solve problems in a business. Right? When you want to grow, you guys go sell this. We're going to do a promo. We're going to do a blitz. We're going to blah, blah. You get all excited. Everybody gets all steamed up. You go running out, have some gung-ho meeting. Going to have a spiff. Going to change the pay plan. Going to do all that. That's all that stuff at the top of the pyramid. The bottom of the pyramid, which is where we're going today, is about why do customers choose you? Well, because I'm the low bid. Does everybody understand that that's not necessarily the most fun thing that you're doing, and you're getting paid for doing project management work, but the dumbest guy in the market controls the market, and you guys have tremendous long tail risk. How are you organized? I'll show you where the money is in a system integration, electronic access control business, but your selling model of the salespeople you have, we'll show you all the math of how much DHI sales reps make and how the cost per call, we'll show you how all that works tomorrow morning. your model is inappropriate to deal with end user system integration issues. You can't make, you don't have a big enough money hose to make that work. You got to make a couple changes. So we're going to focus today and tomorrow on these two bottom levels. When we talk about coming back in Vegas, back in April at the summit, where it's going to be another set of tools that'll start talking about how do you get this market alignment really right so the money you're spending is focused on growth and you can have expectations with a logical pattern. So here's a quick idea. Anybody here old enough to remember STP, the oil treatment? Andy Granatelli? That's how I remember this. Segmenting, targeting, and positioning. Segment customers by how they want to buy. Then once you get them segmented by how they want to buy, and this is not how big they are or their SIC codes, we usually segment them by size and allocate suck-up behavior based on size. Isn't that pretty much right? Yeah. This is what are they actually buying from you, not what you think you're selling, and I'll show you how that works. You then, once you have a bunch of customer segments, you say, what is the potential to grow and what is the cost to grow? And then you say, positioning, what is your value proposition? And this is what the workshop tomorrow is about. You go through this over and over. And we did one for this industry that's going to be very different than what you're used to looking at, and you give it the common sense test, see if it makes sense. Here's two customer segments, just made them up. This is a price-only contractor. I'm a bid build guy. I'm one of the trades. Everything's out there. My life's very different than a design build contractor. And then I got a university facility manager on the other side, end user. The university facility manager, they're getting ready to put up another dorm. He's going to end up, I'll explain how all that money works. Both markets have things that are absolutely critical to them, things that are nice to have, and things where they don't care. If we have a one-size-fits-all, which is what brung us to the dance, we're meeting some of their critical needs, but not all of them. This is having a self-directed sales force. Send the salespeople out, like Mike Marks, and send them all. You guys go out and sell. Just go out and kill a buffalo, bring them back, feed tribe. I don't care if you're climbing a tree and stab with the stick, dig a hole, let them fall into it and starve. At the end of the month, you can kill them with verbal diarrhea. End of the month, I want a pile of buffaloes all piled up here. You go kill your field sales. We all stand around at the end of the month. Small, skinny buffaloes. That means the margin stinks. Fat, gassy buffaloes. Oh, the chargebacks on this are going to be horrible. All right, we always have comments. We're always happy or sad at the end of the month. We're never any smarter because we're one size fits all. When you start to think about what customers are actually buying, what you do is you build a different value proposition for an end user and a university. Maybe you have a bunch of universities and you give them exactly what they want. You pay for it with all that red that you don't need anymore. Those are all just in case. It's very complicated and difficult to change selling resources and investment and sales teams. It's scary, but you're playing for big stakes. And when the market's giving you growth, you don't have to do anything. But when the market growth rate's going to be down, and does everybody understand that commercial construction is not going to exactly be blowing through the roof here in the next couple of years? What are you going to do? Well, I'm a lifestyle business. See this? My anorexia is not coming back. I haven't missed many meals. We're going to do just fine. I'll outlast it. Perfectly legitimate strategy. Just make sure you're doing it on purpose. Decide on purpose. Are you playing the game to win or playing it not to lose? Both are okay. Just don't BS yourself. So segmenting is about offering value exactly to what the customer wants. Most of you have seen this adjacency model from Boston Consulting Group, standard B-school stuff. We wanted to give you a little tailoring because what we did is we went out and we talked to schools, universities, and hospitals and a couple office parks. And we talked to general contractors. We know a lot about the system integrator business because we've done work in that industry for multiple people. And why do we talk to them? Because we figured that's the most immediate, shortest path to get some growth. Where's the money? All this light coming down, lighting me up, works really fine. If you took all that light and put it in a beam about that wide, What would it be called? Laser. Maybe about 2 kilowatt laser. I mean, that punched right through the floor and anything got in the way. What you're trying to do is, instead of having all your resources spread out, attacking on all fronts, achieving on none, right? It's all about quote management, just got to bid. Where do you take these resources, concentrate them where you can get the biggest payoff? The hardest, if that top left, the hard, that's your existing customers and existing products, right? The openings go in first, the doors go in last, we got all the code. Code might even change halfway through the project. There's all kinds of crazy things that happen. You've learned how to do that. If you go one adjacency out, in other words, same product, new customers, this would be end user repair, maintenance, and upgrade business, perhaps, at a university hospital. You could stay with the same customers and expand the product bundle. If you notice, we go down to new products, that's electronic access control for a lot of you. And all these lines are available now. By the way, I mean, you can go ask Ken, who got one of the Founders Awards, about the fire door inspection. Fire door inspection can be extremely profitable, but not in the way you think. It's not about the GP dollars that generates. It's about control of the customer and increasing the customer switching cost. But for most of you, that's 2 adjacencies away, and you can spend a lot of money on that and not get a lot of payoff. So the key thing, if you're a money guy, very simply, where can I align my resources that are going to get me the biggest opportunity to grow? So here's a quick look at your market. We're breaking this up into end users and contractors. We're going to do end users first. Everybody wants to grow their end user business. Where's the money? And essentially, there's a lot of money here, and we'll actually show you how much money's there. But if you talk about end user decision makers, and we're talking hospitals, schools, big multi-occupancy office parks that are managed, by big property management firms, buildings that are built on spec, the hoteling, have you guys all seen the hoteling kind of office things that are going on? Now, facility maintenance staff are really powerful. If you notice all these words up here, if you're actually going through your handout, you've heard, if you've talked to a facility person, you've heard all this. This is, if you think about building a career, right? And you talk about building the career of attaboys and aw-poops, right? You want to get more attaboys and aw-poops. A facility maintenance manager is the one-armed man in The Fugitive. Because there's no attaboys, there's only aw-poops. The best thing you can hope for if you're managing a facility, especially a big complex facility, is that nobody notices you're there, right? That nobody notices because, and by the way, that rarely happens, right? You go talk to a facility, how's it going today? Really good. Well, how do you know? Nobody bitched at me. It's very simple. One-armed man. So when you start to think about all these changes, we've right-sized these organizations. This guy's a one-legged man in a butt-kicking contest, right? They're understaffed. All these other people are putting all these rules in front of him and all these regulations and all the things he's got to do. And by the way, does he get any credit for that? Nope. This is the guy that they just kind of keep beating on. So if you talk about end-user decision makers, and when I say decision makers, I'm not talking about product efficacy or price performance. I'm talking about the people that decide who's going to supply them contract hardware, electronic access, and the other related items in that bundle. The people that decide who we're going to buy from, you got facility maintenance staff, and they are, burn this into your brain, the decision maker. My mother told me once, actually she told me many times because I was short on this, she said, common sense is not that common. My mother told me that a lot, usually when I was not demonstrating common sense. Anybody ever use a line that seemed like a good idea at the time? The person running the facility may not have their graduate degree from a first-tier business school, but they have a lot of common sense and they're really good at managing complexity. And there's lots of other people. There's a project manager when they're going to do in-house construction. We're going to expand the dorm. We got to raise the security thing. There's an architect. And how does the architect get things going and add value? I want to have a wow design. It's got to be cool. The facility guy goes, I just need everything to work. I don't want any more drama in my life. I don't get any points for wow or cool. I just want it to work. Leave me alone. The executives, right? I just don't want any disasters. So if you talk about end users and how they decide to spend money, their organizational behavior is very much about avoiding risk. If you're selling and you want to develop a value proposition to sell to end users, the people that make a lot of those decisions are the senior maintenance facility staff, facility managers, and if you notice a little green at the bottom, they're buying time savings. They don't have any time. There are no day stretchers for facility management. Standardization and simplification, think time. What you think, I'm selling quality products with excellent people and delivering, that's you looking at you. How many people in this room have at least one, I'm going to ask you to raise your hands, weird relative? Come on. Now some of you that are sitting there looking a little confused, you might be the relative, no pressure. But the weird relative I have is my brother Randy. And anything you talk to Randy about, his is always better. He's got a better website. He's got a better car. He's got a better wife. He's going to be a bazillion-dollar richer, and I keep loaning him money. And I mean, I love him. He's my brother. And Randy will get together at a family thing. Well, enough of me talking about me. What do you think about me? When you talk about segmenting customers, you segment them by how they want to buy. And if you're thinking about end users, think about the poor sucker that's running that facility that's under-resourced, and they're about time and risk and trying to not have things go bad. And I cannot tell you, I mean, there is such a fixation now after the Columbine and all these other issues that people say, it's not a question of if we're going to get a shooter, it's a question of when. It's a question. And I mean, that's a sad commentary on the world today, but that's the reality they're living with. And fundamentally, they want things standardized. You can talk to me about better functionality and better, longer life. I don't care. Right? If I have two different systems instead of one, I've doubled the complexity of my life and I can barely hang on to what I've got now. Reliability and responsiveness matter a lot. Now, these people decide to spend money. And I'm going to talk to you about two different segments they have. There's two ways they spend money, and this is very different. This is the system integrator market. The system integrator makes most of their money on this market. And when I say this market, it's an end user. Don't just look, the schools are a market segment. That's the way a manufacturer looks at things, push product. You can look at a facility individual at schools. Are they buying repair, maintenance, and upgrade, or are they doing their own construction? And if you think about it, everything's all locked down really tight. They have, in our discussions, and we know these folks relatively well, they don't know that you exist in most cases. What they see is a security hardware distributor, the locksmiths, right? All the rest of that. They'll see their contractor that did the last edition. They know their system integrator. And once here's what happens. Some intergalactic CFO picked a building security software integrated intergalactic system. The maintenance guy may or may not have been consulted, but nobody cared, but they picked it. Now that it's picked, well, nobody calls on us anymore because we got to be standardized. Well, why do you got to be standard? Because I won't let it be anything different. I don't have any time, right? So they want it that way. And so people stop calling on us. What's interesting, when you look at the economics of this repair, maintenance, and upgrades, it fits your capabilities well, but they don't know that we exist. The money that's there that you don't see, and most of the poaching examples, and this will make sense in a second, where a system integrator is going to pull the electronic access control stuff out of what would be sort of a classic Division 8 spec, and that gets stripped out, it would be because that system integrator is already got a very close relationship, ongoing transactions with the facility manager. They've got the system all standardized, and all of a sudden they're getting ready to do a project, and I don't have to worry about this because Herbie worries about this, or Mary worries about this, and you know what? I got plenty to worry about. Let's get Herbie or Mary to take care of that, and that gets stripped out. It didn't have anything to do with you because they already had a guy. They have a very consistent buying process. Typically, there's a line. If it's more than 10 doors, they'll bid it out. Everybody's got a different standard. If you've seen one of these, you've seen one. So don't overgeneralize. But when they buy construction projects, which are expansion, and you're still going to be able to see business permits filing and Dodge reports and all that other kind of stuff that's out there, but most of these things would be so small that your guys wouldn't even focus on them. And those are the ones that are going to get poached in terms of a lot of this convergence. Now, they will stick to door and hardware brand. You're not going to get that changed. You can see guys coming in with Will-Fit, functional Will-Fits. I mean, that's a whole discussion about branding and manufacturer challenges, and they got buckets of those, right? Everybody's got challenges. And the specs are really, really tight for both Division 28 and Division 8. And they tend not to move things back and forth. Operant word there was tend, right? If you've seen one, you've seen one. Now, somebody gets excited about something, they're going to move things around. The electronic access control system is usually managed by somebody else. Fire door inspections work by somebody else. But the point is, there's a lot of money that gets spent here. Now, I want to talk just for a second about general contractors, then show you where the money is. There are multiple decision makers in a general contractor. You guys know this stuff cold. And there are no two alike. And there's no two projects that are alike. When you go to a project kickoff meeting and the whole thing's going, you need to listen really, really careful. The things you see and understand, most people that are outside this industry wouldn't even know to be listening to. But when you talk about who the decision makers are, the architect is often a third party unless and there's a principal in the company, right? If it's a small GC, they're going to want to make sure that the projects are profitable. We've done a lot of work with the Association of General Contractors, and it's very hard. They're going through the same turmoil, actually a little bit more than you are right now. And I'm talking primarily in the commercial things in terms of things that are changing in their life and long tail risk and all this other stuff. Project managers, the key thing I'm marking this out is if you look at the bottom, estimators and purchasing agents, there's a big difference. A purchasing agent, somebody that's going to do 4 rounds of the bid, you guys have all seen it, right? There's a project manager that's running the thing and they get some purchasing person, they're just going to, there's a game that's played. It's called Rabbit. It's called a privilege and by the way, Harvard's doing all kinds of stuff. Procurement has changed dramatically in the last 20 years. The dominant form of procurement in B2B relationships and B2B business was relationships. Find somebody you can trust, a trusted supplier. It's now turned into privileged partner or privileged player in Rabbit. Several people come in to bid. If you're the incumbent, if you're one of my main guys, I need to put you in a room with a bunch of rabbits. The rabbits are on the outside looking in. They'll never actually get to talk to the project manager. They'll talk to the purchasing agent. And you need to have a sharp pencil on this if you want to get a chance. It'll be great. And so what they're going to do, you're going to give me the bid because I bought from you before and I love you and you're good and there's no drama and everything's good. And I'm going to use these rabbits in here to bid you down. I'm just making this up, but it probably won't ever actually happen here. Yeah, right. How do you actually go through this whole, and by the way, we're still going through this process, but the purchasing agent needs to show demonstrated cost save. They don't need to actually save any money, they just need to look good so they can keep their job. The key thing, if you talk about behavior, this is one of the things we hadn't appreciated, at least, and I'm not sure how much this applies to some of the other areas, but it certainly applies to Division 8. And I suspect the other tertiary product categories as well. The key split Is it a design build contractor or is it a bid build contractor? And this is part of the black art, and we still don't have this bottomed. I mean, I don't even begin to pretend that we understand this all, but we can see the shadows here. And if you think about what people are buying, not what you're selling, what they're buying, a design build GC is going to act very differently than a bid build. And I'll show you why. The design build has a fiduciary responsibility to the owner. They spend a lot of time on the spec. They spend a lot of time on the spec trying to make sure that they cover everything, because what they want, their goal, the thing that makes them the happiest, is that I can deliver something to my client and it meets their expectation. We do the walkthrough and the key handoff and everything's great. No drama, no chargebacks, no lawsuits. So they spend a lot of time up front. They can't go to their customer, if they're the design build guy, which is one person. They got to give them alternatives, but there's a small stable of suppliers that they work with that gives their customer a sense of, these are the choices you have. We can go, all these guys are good guys. I've been in a foxhole with all of them. You can count on all of them in terms of getting this thing done. And they go through and have that discussion. You can actually have, with this contractor, a price versus cost discussion. And the reason for that is that the benefits, the difference between a price and a cost discussion, which is very important in the construction trade, they get the benefit of that, where a bid build guy doesn't. And essentially, as you start to pull this together, and from their point of view, it'd be great. If I can get somebody that can manage electronic access control and my openings and get all that together, that'd be good. That would be attractive to them. Now, that's design build. Their customer, they're trying to do a good job for their customer. A bid build guy is very, very different. The kickoff meeting may look absolutely the same, but as it goes out to the trades, everybody knows that we're 1% of the bill of material and 50 to 80% of the punch list. Right? There's drama here. But if you don't understand something, this is sort of just me. If you don't understand something, always look at the money. People behave for their enlightened self-interest. And if you see something doesn't make sense, usually there's something going on with the money you don't understand. Understand the bid build contracting business. My goal is to be absolutely legally in the minimum compliance necessary with the spec as it's provided. If I see a really good spec as a bid build contractor, I'm not going to make much money. If I see a lousy spec, anybody here familiar with the term change orders? Right? Anybody here been through that little religious experience at the end of a project where we all sit around in a big circle and do chargebacks? You got to take a hit for the team. We're all in this together, man. Yeah, right. The key thing is that they're going to optimize the financial returns they get for their own business, and so a bad spec is actually a good thing. Now notice in the fine print up here, and this is obviously what I'm trying to do is make a case and tell you enough of the story that you can sit down, print this out, talk to your guys about it, get an electronic copy from DHI, go through the discussion and say, where are some opportunities for us to pick guys? But notice how many commercial construction projects end up in litigation. The way you make money now is with attorneys, not with quality products. This long tail risk is getting really, really silly, and people do things differently. So I know this is after lunch, and I know this is kind of a crazy thing, but I want to show you how the money comes together now. And this is the part where it gets interesting. You need to ask yourself 4 questions. Of those little charts I put through of buying behavior and end users and contractors, and the 2 kinds of contractors. And by the way, both contractors are rarely all design build, right? Everybody understand contractors play on both sides? What we do is we segregate our invoices and our revenue by customer by who we send the invoices to, but they buy a design build project much differently than they buy a bid build project, just in your core business. And the end users have this ongoing revenue stream of repair, maintenance, and upgrade, and they have their own little construction projects. So how well do you know the end user and contractor decision makers and influencers? And by the way, when we did the Facing the Force of Change study in 1996 for the National Association of Wholesalers, we mapped out 186 things that high-profit, high-growth distributors do that regular guys don't. Couldn't give the study away. Well, this is, I'm in a construction trade. These guys are talking about plats, not my line of, and so commercially it was a bust, but here's what we found. The one practice that had the highest statistical reliability of predicting high growth and high profit was that the company, this is a distributor, had a source of information about what customers thought of you that did not come from your sales force. For you young people in the room, sometimes salespeople make things up. Really. And if you get all that information from your salespeople, you're never going to know what they're really buying. So you as an executive, what is your source of information? What is your process to get insight? Do you understand the organizational requirements and politics of the buying firm, and do you help support, not only just respect them, but support them, instead of the one-size-fits-all? Getting this segmentation thing right is really, really powerful. One of the things we're going to ask you to do on these 4 segments is try to think about how much of your business, and some of the people we talked to were very heavily concentrated in one of those segments or others, and most of you don't have the data to do it. You're just going to have to rely on your experience. But here's the sweet spot. This is the part that got us excited. You're going to make deliberate choices. Imagine taking a Navy SEAL team. Everybody here know what a Navy SEAL team is? Right? Take a Navy SEAL team and you put them in charge of mall security at the Mall of America. Now just think about that for a second. Is it going to end well? No. They're going to do a high altitude, low opening insertion at 3 o'clock in the morning. They're going to survey all the perimeter. They're going to put the Claymore mines up at the key choke points in the entrance. They're going to find the Baskin Robbins. It's going to be a great place for a morgue. They're going to set up snipers' position. This is not going to go well. You never send out a Navy SEAL team without absolutely crystal clear rules of engagement. Right? They got a mission, got rules of engagement. You don't want guys with guns and explosives to freelance. Okay? It's not good. We use our salespeople and we ask them all to freelance. You guys go sell more. Look, we got this cool product. Got a new thing. Got some. Go sell these. It's a great opportunity. So you got electronic. You guys go out and sell that. If you don't sell it, we'll have more meetings. Right? Meetings will continue till morale improves. I'll rip off your arm and beat you with the wet end. Now get out there and sell, sell, sell. That's a self-directed sales force. Now, when you talk about targeting and you talk about market access, and by the way, in this industry, actually in most industries in the construction trade, and I know that I'm aiming this at distributors, but I got to say something nice about manufacturers reps. And it goes back to what David started his whole thing off, your uncle you were talking about. The more I call on somebody, the luckier I get. Reps instinctively, when academics, when they study rep agencies in terms of market access and aligning time to opportunities for growth, reps they don't have a lot of discipline and the economics. Most reps don't even know the economics of the math. We're going to be doing some of that tomorrow morning. But they do it better than anybody. Distributor sales reps, on the other hand, tend to focus all of their time on their large customers allocating suck-up behavior. I love you, man. Can I have an opportunity to bid in the next quote? And we spend those sales calls where they're not going to generate the growth. So here's how it goes together. I'm just going to talk about the top numbers, not the stuff underneath. These are things that we're going to talk a lot about in the workshop tomorrow. But now, let's say I got 4 segments of customers. I got two segments of end users, right? I got the repair, maintenance, and upgrade, and then I have little construction projects that end users do. Some of those little ones could actually end up being big ones. And then over here is I have your traditional business of your contractors, where I've got bid build and design build. Everybody with me on my 4 buckets? So now for every one of those buckets, and here's the part that's interesting. This is why it's a tool instead of a magic answer. And you have to know your own business. And most of you do. You have to say for each of those 4 segments in your market, for each one of those 4, what is the potential to grow and what is the cost to grow? And essentially, if I have 10 sales calls to invest at a very granular level, don't I want to put those sales calls and invest those? This is like the Navy SEAL at the mall. We're going to give them a tight mission. We're going to tell the salespeople we're going to become somewhat management directed. I want them to spend those sales calls where there's a high potential to grow and a low cost to grow, don't I? Aren't I going to get a better return? Do I even have the processes in place to do that? And by the way, you don't need to have CRM systems and computer. This is about understanding the math, where's the money. So I take these 4 groups, and then here's the pixie dust. Notice that third criteria, profit potential. It's about customer switching costs. If the customer, this is really important, if you're a distributor, this is the lifeblood of your ability to get an appropriate return on capital. If a customer has very low switching costs, all the value accumulates to the end user, none of it stays with the distributor. The goal is to find dollars of business. All dollars of gross margin are not created equally. Some dollars of GP are strategically worth a lot more to you because that customer, I'm willing to invest to go get that business because that customer has high switching costs. In other words, if you're providing a basket of services and things for that customer that help them compete in their business, remember all that organizational behavior? It's nothing to do with your products. If you can help them be successful in their mission, by understanding what their requirements are, and you build something together, their desire to stick with you, somebody with a lower price, it has to be a lot lower to go. I'll give you the classic textbook answer of the distributor that has the highest gross margin in the world. You say, well, what's this? Maybe I'll get out of the contract hardware business and go do that. Well, they pretty much already have this market. You're not allowed legally to use the word market dominance, but let's just say they have market preeminence, but their hearts and minds will follow. Does everybody here know what a portable defibrillator is? You had the heart attack and stuff. I remember sitting next to a young girl on a boat, and we were just sitting there talking. She says, I so want to make out with you, right? I'm 63. And she's like 30. My daughter's 30. And I looked at her and I said, we'd have to get a defibrillator before we started that. And then she looked at me and said, I don't do hinky. You can definitely tell when your generation's kind of lost its window there. You see these defibrillators, they're in the casino here, you see them in the airports, don't you see these things all over on the wall? What is the legal liability to the MGM Grand if all of a sudden somebody pulls one of those out to use it and the battery's dead? You guys understand risk better than most. Does everybody understand that's like a serious religious experience? There is a distributor that sells defibrillator batteries. And they follow the defibrillator companies around, and every time somebody buys them, they go, we will accept the liability that this battery is going to be good and that it won't age out and it will work. And you're going to pay us for this battery service. In terms of a tertiary product, small percentage of the bill of materials at MG, this is mice nuts. That means very small. And once they lock up that contract, if you're the senior legal counsel, if you're the CFO, you're going to let anybody say, I have much better batteries. They're charging you through the Gazuki for that, man. I can get you. Go away. That is an illustration of switching costs. It has nothing to do with the products that you sell. So when you talk about targeting, you take a look, and by the way, we did just a real high-level deal here of these 4 basic segments because there's very large differences in how they choose to buy and what they want to buy from you. And you have the ability, if you decide, in my market, I have an opportunity to grow this segment a lot, I can do a lot of cool stuff with it. So, potential to grow, cost to grow, and then the fancy word for this profit potential is latency. What is the customer switching cost? And if you create high switching costs, you create high margin. So if you once figure these things out, right, by using tools, going through an analytical process, I'm not saying to get all bureaucratic, we're still entrepreneurial, we're still analog beings in a digital world, we've got to have relationships. But if you can then task your salespeople with mission, these are the kind of dollars we want. I want to reallocate your time and spend more time there than just running around to the guys that believe in 30, 60 never terms and big chargebacks at the end of a project. So here's the deal. We could not just go out and get data. We had to construct data, and we went through lots of sources. And what we're doing is I'm showing you 2 things here. This is the new construction market. The green is doors, hardware, doors, frames, and related hardware. New construction market. And this is our take, not the manufacturers. We're looking at this differently. This is products, but we're looking at new construction. And then we're looking at the repair, service, and upgrade. So essentially what's happening here, everybody wonders about this electronic access control. In new construction, notice we're the big circle. Right? We're still like $11 billion. Electronic access control is 370. Now these are dollars on products. These dollars are spent by both end users and contractors. Right? So I'm doing kind of a switch. We're looking at product dollars now. And there's an overlap in this electronic access stuff. Now, here's the part that's interesting. Remember we talked about end users? That's $860 million in repair, service, and upgrade versus 370 in new construction. You got occupants that change in office parks, you have things that are changing. Electronic access control is a really big piece of the repair, service, and upgrade market. If you want to grow your end user business, one of the things you need to do, this becomes much more important to you. So essentially, here's how you would lay it out. And I'll set you free because we got a really cool show here in about 10 minutes when I give this back to Jerry. I'm going to start at the bottom and work up. And remember, you have to figure out your own segments, and this is just starting to talk about what drives people's behavior. The 2 at the bottom, design build contractors, bid build contractors. Most CHDs treat these the same, and we basically do bid management. We'll get visibility through the various subscription services, and everybody's got their opinion to see what projects are going on, and we try to get in, and we try to get to the meetings, and we try to do all the stuff we're doing. And there's a very predictable process that is complicated, and there's nuance and variation, and you're all really good at it. Now, if I'm going to try to grow that business, if I want to really focus on design build guys, they're very hard to get. Because once they get that stable and it's working, if you don't screw up, there's a really high barrier for you to get in there. It's a high impedance sales channel. If you get one, that relationship has a huge economic value. If I'm going to deal with the bid build stuff, and one of the interesting problems that we have in this industry is that it didn't get bad enough soon enough. We still are sitting with fundamentally the same number of contract hardware distributors as we had back in 2006. The market's less. Does anybody remember that line I gave you about the dumbest guy in the market controls pricing? And does anybody see if this is going to get any better in the foreseeable future? So, if I decide I really want to grow the bid build business, what I want to do is I want to become the low-cost black belt at project management. I'm a small firm, but I have 5 guys on my staff that have the letters PMP after their name, where they're certified project management professionals. And I'm good. And you know what? When everybody goes through that little round of chargebacks at the end and the end, at some point people choose to use me because they know if they use me, they're going to have much better defense in the paperwork at the end that nobody pays any attention to till it's too late. And everybody in this room knows how that works. That is a low and stable market. There's too many contract hardware guys chasing the same dollars. Getting one of these design build guys, recognizing that contractors they play in both areas, but some have more concentration than others, that's part of the black art in your business, that there's so much variation. But if I get one, it's got a long tail. Where's the new money? Where has this convergence really hit us? And think about this end user piece. This is really interesting. And by the way, nothing that's in here that I've talked to you about today is just sort of somebody that we talk to is doing bits and pieces or versions of everything I'm talking about today. That's when Jerry and David were talking about getting tools that were tailored. This is like proven in the crucible of real life experience. But if I talk about end user new construction, it's higher than contractor work for the foreseeable future and probably larger overall in the long run. But the customers, we're invisible. The customers do not see us. Because when you guys work through a Dodge report and you're figuring out quote management and doing all this other stuff, and I know everybody's, well, I'm dropping way down for little stuff because everybody's hungry. This comes very close to our traditional model. But I'll tell you a little secret. There's a thing called a critical selling event. Something comes up. A hospital decides that they're going to renovate a wing. And they're doing it because they got to do a whole bunch of different structural stuff because somebody's putting in a 20,000-pound MRI machine. And so there's all kinds of stuff that has to roll out because of that. They need to have an event like that because that's going to be handled inside with the project manager by the end user. They need to have the event, but you still don't get a sale because two things have to happen. They have to have a critical selling event. I have a new requirement. I got to go do something. And then they have to think about you. If you can figure out, maybe with low-cost sales channels, inside sales, I know a lot of this stuff sounds really like heresy. This is different. And by the way, I understand nobody likes change with one exception, and that's a wet baby. But the idea here is that it's not doing the same stuff harder, better. It's about doing new things. If you can find a way or change a product bundle, and electronic access control is certainly in one adjacency away, if I can get in and find some way to start servicing that repair, maintenance, and upgrade business where I'm seeing this guy on a regular basis, not with my traditional CHD project management, big bid, $100,000 minimum order guy, but maybe with different folks, if I have the visibility and those projects come up, they will see us. And one thing to grab a hold of. Everybody here is familiar with Toyota lift trucks, right? Forklifts. 20 years ago, they didn't even exist in this country. Today, they have absolute dominant market position. How did they build it? They focused on one thing. They focused on deal interception. They said forklifts wear out. Every time somebody in North America goes to buy another forklift, what we want is we want bid visibility. We want an at-bat. I don't care what our win rate is, but I want deal visibility. And if you think about all those dollars I showed you in that circle, if I can get in, and the economics are very different in the repair, maintenance, and upgrade, and I have the visibility with that customer, and all of a sudden those projects come up, I'm on the inside in, because most of the convergence stories we've had have been system integrators that have glommed onto something because they already had that RMU relationship with the customer. That's how it all goes together. The system integrator business is very different than yours. They make 30% of their money in new construction and 70% from support and upgrades. We're do once and done. That's what we do. We've been doing it since dirt. The point is, if the only tool you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. You do not use a contract hardware, contractor-oriented sales force to go deal with end users. You're just going to be ineffective. You're taking a knife to a gunfight. There are ways to do it. There are people in this room that have done it very effectively, or are doing it very effectively. Their system integrators are terrified of your long-tail risk management. Terrified of it. And by the way, my suspicion is that you're going to find, if you decide to move into the electronic access control and start to do some of this, like if you decide, you know what, maybe I will go look at it, I'll pony up, we'll go to the forum, I'll go to the ISC show, I'll maybe find people to hire, I'll get a lot smarter. You're going to get some more DHI tools that have been designed to help you align your market alignment and stuff, and you decide to make an investment. The issue is, where can I put my money and get a 20% return on invested capital? These are your last 4 questions. I'm going to set you free. How much risk do you want to take? Can you just decide, I'm just going to focus on Division 8 stuff and just wait for it to go? I'm going to outlast it? I mean, you get to pick what you want. That's the beauty of America so far until we change the rules again. You could just be acquiring companies. You think about your path forward to grow, because what I want you to do tomorrow, show up at the workshop. It's tailored to show distributors how to use stuff, use the tools. We're going to show them 3 tools. But start thinking about maybe completing this. If you were going to grow your business, what do you want it to look like? I hope you choose to go down the path, come to the workshop, think about the forums, think about the other choices. We don't know. This is new ground for everybody. And it is all about the money, but it's doing new things. Nobody likes to do new things. Thanks for your time. I'll turn it back to Jerry.